So the Browns pulled off the upset of the week by beating the previously undefeated Packers 13-10 on Sunday. Cleveland didn't score until the fourth quarter and needed a 55-yard field goal as time expired to get the job done. But in the end, they came away with their first win of the season. And despite this effort, Deion Sanders has faith he's going to see his son Shedeur take the field. Listen.
Be patient and be ready. You got to be ready when it's time. But when it's time, you're going to know. I'm saying it's coming up. You know, I got a prediction. I ain't telling nobody. I got a feeling when it's going to go down. But it's going to go down this year. He's going to get a shot.
All right, Kmart, you follow this Browns team very closely. Do you believe Shedeur is going to get his shot?
I thought that he would get a shot in week 17 or 18 before the season started. Honestly, my opinion sort of is the same. Around as early as week 15, fine. But I don't think we're going to see him halfway through the season. And the reason I say this, not based off of his talent, it's really based off of the actions. I'm watching the head coach. I'm watching the organization. There's a reluctance to draft him. There's a reluctance to give him first-team reps during training camp. There's a reluctance to name him the number 2 quarterback. There's still another rookie quarterback ahead of him on the depth chart. So based off of those things that I'm observing, I think the kid is talented, but watching the organization, Joe Flacco is hurt.
I disagree. I think we're going to see him earlier than expected because I think their offense is awful. And I think that when you have your defense that's out playing the way that they've played in 2 of the 3 weeks that they've played, showing you how elite they can be, then you can't continue to go week to week being as anemic and impotent offensively as the Joe Flacco-led offense has been. Eventually, obviously, you're going to put Dylan Gabriel in there. He's a bit undersized, even though he's skilled, he's a bit undersized, and I think that will be exposed come on NFL Sunday. And at some point in time, the fans there are going to clamor to see Shedeur Sanders, and I think that's going to be sooner than later. I'm not saying it's going to be the next 2 or 3 weeks, but I don't think it's going to take week 16 or 17 for this to happen. I think you're going to see it happen earlier, but by default, it's because their offense is significantly more god-awful than we suspected.
I mean, it worked itself out in the preseason, right? Like we saw Shedeur earlier than we thought because of injuries and whatnot. Like we could have the same situation happening because of their deficiencies on offense here in the regular
area of his development. But overall, you like the way that things are trending. After a disappointing home showing against the Buffalo Bills, they went on the road and they took on a tough Tampa Bay Bucs team, and they had a lead late in that ball game. Had it not been for the 2-minute drive from Baker Mayfield, you're talking about the New York Jets pulling off one of the most surprising outcomes in Week 3. Keep in mind, they're 0-3, but 2 of those losses they lost by a combined 4 points. So I would say that this has a different feel in terms of this Jets team in comparison to Jets teams in the past.
You said you were surprised. You really surprised by that? Tyrod Taylor looking better than Justin Fields? I mean, I think it was more hope with Justin Fields than proof of concept. Tyrod Taylor's been a pro for 100 years.
After week 1, I thought Justin Fields had turned the corner as a passer.
Yeah.
But if we're going to
They had more yards passing than rushing after week 1.
I know, but if we're going to do the thing of you look good against the Cowboys, we have to take that with a grain of salt. We got to do the same thing with the Steelers. That defense.
Drake May didn't look like Justin Fields did against that Pittsburgh Steelers defense.
Let's see. Let's see what happens with Justin Fields. I'm not surprised that Tyrod Taylor, who's the pro's pro, looked better than a guy who's trying to develop as a drop back.
Well, one guy has the potential to represent your future at the position, and the other guy does not.
That's right. That's right.
So I guess that's why it's
the surprise part. Take advantage of the opportunity if you're Justin Fields. And anytime you're not, and you're losing, whether you look better culturally, you're still going to finish in the top 5 pick in the draft, and they're going to be inclined to take a quarterback.
No doubt.
Okay, next one. Getting late early. Miami Dolphins 0-3. Obviously, they played on Thursday Night Football last week.
Getting late early. They've been hitting snooze through 3 weeks. I mean, it's been late. It's been late before the first kick of the first game. Now, listen, they did give the Buffalo Bills more of a game than I think most of us anticipated based on what we've seen from the Miami Dolphins in the first 2 weeks. But what happened? 2-0'd it up. It just is what it is. They're toast. There's nothing that they can do to revitalize the season as far as I'm concerned.
They gave the Bills more of a game than we anticipated and still lost by double digits.
That's right. Is that not a perfect encapsulation of how we feel about this team?
No doubt.
You showed a little fight. You still lost by double digits, though.
But we all saw this coming, too. Nobody thought the Miami Dolphins were going to be good coming into this year. It just turns out that they were even worse than we expected, which is hard to do. Yeah, there's nothing that they can salvage from this season. I think the best thing that the Dolphins can do is start picking up the phone, calling out other teams, and seeing if they want some of your pieces. Basically, what they need to start doing is going on the fire sale. Whatever you guys want, we're willing to listen for the right price. They've got to build for the future, and the only way they do that is by continuing to tear it down.
I think if they lose to the Jets Monday Night Football, ESPN, ABC, that's when that starts. I think that's their rock bottom at that point from an on-field perspective. All right, next three are a lot harder than the first three. Getting late early. Houston Texans 0-3. Somewhat surprising. We have said sophomore slump usually doesn't happen in your junior year.
No, this one's really tough because we didn't know if we would see that same continuity from C.J. Stroud, but I don't think we expected this version of the Houston Texans. They've dug themselves a huge hole early. You mentioned Evan 0-3, but it's not one thing you can point to. They look sloppy. There's bad play calling. The offense has not been great. They fell short of 20 points in all 3 games. This is a team that has a lot to figure out, and they've put themselves at quite the deficit early in the season.
It's the worst offense in the NFL, quite literally. 32 out of 32. That's where they rank in scoring offense.
Oof.
They're bad. And
Why is that?
Well, first of all, if you can't block them, you can't beat them. The offensive line can't block up defensive fronts and protect C.J. Stroud, so there's that element of it. The wide receiver core is missing 2 of the top 3 targets. And then, oh, by the way, this team makes mistakes at the most inopportune times. When it comes to turnovers, when it comes to defensive penalties that extend opposing offensive drives, all of those things factor into why this team can't be more consistent and can't find a way to win football games. It's a surprising characteristic of a DeMeco Ryans coach team because it is not representative of what his program has been about since he got there 3 years ago. Yeah, it's starting to get late early. We might need to break glass in case of emergency in Houston. They could find themselves out of it before we get to November.
Getting late early. How about this team that yesterday made 2 moves? Their offensive coordinator, Zach Robinson, goes from the booth to the field, and they fire wide receivers coach Ike Hilliard, former NFL player, Gator as well. A rough week for the Gators all around. Sorry, Amber and Zaz. Atlanta Falcons, getting late early. Smalls.
This one's tricky because you know that sometimes young quarterbacks are going to have games like we saw from Michael Penix Jr. It's just part of the calibration period, but you don't know if that's the outlier or if that's going to be more of the norm. The offense has not looked good, and we did have high expectations for this offense coming into the season. The receivers are dropping passes. You've seen Bijan Robinson in that run game get neutralized at times, and Michael Penix Jr. has not been great. Looking at his line Sunday versus the Panthers, 2 interceptions, including giving up his first career pick 6. So I'm not going to panic on the Falcons just yet, but there is some concerning things.
Yeah, you can't get boat raced by the Carolina Panthers as bad as that team has looked through the first 2 weeks and be able to get to where we think you all should be trying to get to, which is the postseason, winning a division title, and potentially winning a playoff game. Remember, they mortgaged future draft capital in 2026 in order to get pieces that could help them this year.
Wild.
They traded a first-round pick in 2026 to move up with the LA Rams to draft James Pierce, one of 2 edge rushers that they took in the first round. You only make that move if you think your team is capable of winning the division and capable of winning playoff games. And right now, they're not trending toward either. So, yeah, it's getting late early for the Atlanta Falcons. And when you make that kind of decision, either it's you have an overwhelming belief in the team or this regime is on a hotter seat than most people are willing to acknowledge around the NFL. Either way, it's not a good thing for that franchise.
Last one, getting late early. Denver Broncos at 1-2. They were one of the hot teams before the season, obviously having a hell of a year last year with Nix and Peyton together. I love their offseason acquisitions. Unfortunately, there's injuries now. Dre Greenlaw and Evan Ingram is banged up as well, the tight end. Is it getting late early for the Broncos?
It surprisingly is, and it's not only because of what they've done to themselves, blowing back-to-back leads. And, you know, Sean Payton had preached to this team, we have to start out fast. That's what good teams do. Real playoff contenders, they start the season off fast. Well, not so much for the Denver Broncos, but what the Chargers have done, beating 3 division opponents to start the season, has put everyone else in that division on notice. So, yeah, it's getting late for Denver early, not only because of them, but because of what the Chargers have been able to accomplish.
Yeah, especially with the Chiefs looking the way that they've looked. This is an opportunity for somebody in the AFC West to rise up, and it looks like that's the Chargers. We thought the Denver Broncos would have something to say about how that division is won this year, the success that Sean Payton was able to have with Bo Nix in year one. But Bo Nix is also one of those players that we've got to talk about from a regression standpoint. He had a chance to win the game late, double move by Cortland Sutton, wide open. He's got to be able to hit that throw, not able to make it, overshoots him. That opens the door for Justin Herbert to play the hero. The Denver Broncos defense played well, with the exception of a dumb penalty late by Talanoa Hufanga. But that defense played well. That defense leads the leagues in sacks. They can get after the quarterback like nobody's business. It's just that the offense has to come to the party, and they have yet to show up. And that's surprising for me, given that Sean Payton is the head coach of that team.
Monday Night Football is our next game on ABC, 8:50 p.m. Eastern Time, a week from yesterday. And they play at home against the Cincinnati Bengals and Jake Browning, who I'm high on, most are not. If they don't win that game, there's no debate as to whether or not if it's getting late early, because the Chargers are currently 3-0. Obviously, you still have the Chiefs in that division. If you fall to 1-3 with a home loss on Monday Night Football for the world to see against the Cincinnati Bengals, that becomes a conversation. Dan Graziano, ESPN NFL reporter and insider, is going to join us after Smalls tells all of you about what you should be doing anyway and doing more of. And if you're not, she's going to tell you why you should jump on ESPN Bet, right?